When you look at a chart, for example, of this idea of the yogis and the Hindu masters talking about enlightenment, and they talk about the different chakras and all these energy things, and okay, you read it and you wonder, and then you begin to do some research, and you're like, okay, there must be some science or some facts attached to this stuff, and there must be some intelligent people researching these things. It can't just be me that's curious. So I come across a study. And I'm like, okay, let me start reading it. And it's a study with the acronym Spain. It's an experiment that they did over 20 years, a span of over 20 years, which is the scale of positive and negative emotion. So what they did is they put individuals inside a Faraday cage. It was for those people that don't know what a Faraday cage is, this cage made with different aluminums and different metals that basically block any sort of Wi-Fi signal, any sort of frequency to come into that box. And then they began prompting people with what? With different tasks, different mindsets, different thoughts, different questions to determine one thing: the vibrational frequency that their body was kind of operating on when they gave certain responses. So whether it was positive frequency or negative frequency. So for example, let's say they prompted, disgust or anger inside of the person. Well, clearly they could tell that it was a lower vibrational frequency. So like, okay, interesting. So let's prompt some positive stuff. And they were like, oh, this is higher vibration. I'm like, oh, interesting. Because the body naturally reacts to your emotions. There's chemistry taking place when your emotions are kicking in. So when you have a negative thought, you're not just having a negative thought. There's an entire process attached to that.
Energy going out.
It's putting you in a different frequency. So the question is, okay, well, what's the best frequency to be in? If this is the scale of positive and negative emotions, I want to be at the highest scale of positive emotions. So what is the highest form of frequency that I can abide in? So that was the question that these scientists were asking. And if you start looking at, these yogi charts, you begin to see, greed, lust at the bottom, then anger, then you see love and gratitude. And then at the top, you see what? Enlightenment. Well, what is enlightenment? Okay, make that practical for me. Like everybody talks about enlightenment, but what is enlightenment? So they began prompting people. And they found that above what we often know as the highest form of frequency, or what everybody talks about, which is love. That's what everybody talks about, the highest form, the highest form of energy. They found that there was a frequency that made people vibrate 400 times more powerful than the vibrational frequency of love. And it was the vibrational frequency of authenticity. To become the truest version of yourself with no lies is to vibrate at the highest form that you can possibly vibrate at.
God, I love that.
So
true.
Giving you a sense of peace, equanimity, and truthfulness. And all the baggage doesn't exist because you don't have to wear a mask. Therefore, you can be who you are.
You can move faster. You can live free.
And authenticity, remember, vibrational frequency is fast. Key that you said that. Authenticity is the key to everything. And if you can do things authentically, you win the game. So once again, it goes back to the mindset. Like, are you being a liar? Well, you know when you're supposed to go to the gym. I'm not saying you have to go to the gym every single day, but you know when you're supposed to go and you don't go. You know when you're supposed to sit down and read that article or that book or listen to that thing and you don't do it, and you know you're supposed to. You're not being authentic with yourself because you want something, but your actions say something else. And your mindset and your actions need to be aligned. We talk about this concept of faith. People are like, you just need to believe. You need to believe that you can. Faith, without your ability to manifest it in the three-dimensional world through action, is dead. You can't just believe things. You have to create them through action. You need to materialize them with energy. And at whatever frequency you're going to place it at, remember, frequency always exists. What we're doing is we're tuning ourselves to that frequency. Nikola Tesla famously said, because once again, this goes back to the school system, how we're being taught. Nikola Tesla famously said, my brain is a receiver of information. But what are we taught in the school system? That our brain is to be jammed with things that you have to memorize, and this is blocked information, and this is how your brain works. Well, what if we're only tapping into 5% of our brain? What if the conversation here is, dude, what if I have to get smarter and tap into more of my brain? What if that's the maybe if you're operating off of 2%, you deserve to be broke because you're not operating at your optimal. So how do you expect to have optimal results if you're not operating optimally? It doesn't make any sense because you're going to attract that which you are. Naturally, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if Nikola Tesla says, hey, the brain's a receiver of information, the question is, what are the things that are causing static? My inability to receive information, or my inability to get inspired, my inability to actually put forth the effort and purpose that I want. Well, what's the music that I listen to? What are the friendships that I hang out with? What's my environment? What do I eat? How do I speak to myself? All these things are either causing static or stillness, and your ability to what? Receive information that gives you inspiration in order to act. Think of you and me in 1940 or 1950, driving down the Midwest in an old Cadillac, and we wanted to listen to some music. That music is already attuned to that frequency. What we have to do is tune the radio and position ourselves in that frequency so then we can tune into it. So most people, they want to operate at a high vibrational frequency, attract prosperity, attract purpose, attract wealth, but their actions aren't aligning with it. So you have to act and then you'll receive. You have to do, and then the outcome will produce itself. All you have to do is change your mindset and be like, hey, you know what? Instead of looking at the situation negatively, you may look at it positively. Well, how do I do it? I don't know. Lie to yourself until you believe it, just like you lied to yourself about the negative shit. But once you understand that you can't solve the problems in your life with the same mindset and the same information that gave you the problems in the first place, then you understand that you need a renewed mind and you need new information in order to behave differently. So authenticity is the name of the game. As much as it feels like it's a vulnerability factor, once you treat yourself with grace, like we were talking about in the beginning, now you enter a situation where you don't care because you're just learning and figuring it out. I would study the Spain experiment.